Welcome to The Explainer, where we love to deconstruct fascinating ideas. Today we're diving into this wonderfully surreal story to uncover something profound, and frankly, something really useful about creativity and, where great ideas actually come from.
So let's just start with this absolutely bizarre image from our source text. It's introducing us to a writer, but probably not any kind of writer you've ever pictured before. I mean, he's got 6 eyes and a reptile-like face, and believe me, that's just the beginning.
Now look, this whole scene might seem like pure, unadulterated nonsense, but I promise you, hidden inside all this weirdness is a really powerful secret about the creative process itself, and it's one that applies to a lot more than just writing.
Okay, let's dive into our first section here, a writer's strange world. We're going to get to know our main character, a writer named Jyorge, and his world, well, as we've already seen, it's anything but ordinary.
The text really goes out of its way to paint this picture of Jyorge as a truly alien figure. It says his skull gleams like polished mahogany, that he has a sheath of synthetic flesh, and of course those 6 eyes scanning the page. This is someone who is way, way out there, far from our everyday experience.
And then you get this, a sudden kind of jarring collision of the strange and the mundane. He's drinking this hot raspberry trout mushroom beverage, which sounds just utterly disgusting, right? But he's drinking it from a world's greatest dad coffee mug.
And this just brilliantly illustrates the central tension in his character. On the one hand, you've got the completely surreal, 6 eyes, a reptile face, a violet magma drink. But on the other hand, you have the deeply familiar, a coffee mug, taking a little break, the simple act of trying to write. He's this being of profound weirdness, but he's totally grounded in a mundane reality that, we all recognize.
So let's see how this builds in our second section, the voice of reason. See, Jyorge isn't alone. He's joined by this skeptical observer who kind of acts as the voice of reason, or maybe the voice of our own internal critic.
She's hovering over his shoulder, and she asks the question that I think pretty much every creative person has asked themselves at some point. Is what I'm making right now just complete and utter nonsense? Yeah, she does not mince words. She calls his work ridiculous drivel. And with that one line, she perfectly frames the central conflict of this whole scene. The value, or, the lack of value, we put on creating something that just seems completely pointless.
But okay, here's where it gets really good. In our third section, the purpose of drivel, Jyorge actually defends his work. And his explanation, well, it's the core lesson of this entire explainer. There is a method to his madness.
He's completely calm about it. He doesn't get defensive at all. He just explains that this work, this stuff that looks totally useless and nonsensical from the outside, it actually serves a vital purpose in his creative journey. He argues that all this nonsense is necessary to stimulate what he calls the abstract whirlpools of spontaneous cogitation, which, okay, it's a super fancy term for a simple but really profound idea. You have to let your mind run wild, without judgment, to get those creative juices flowing. Her sarcastic reply is just perfect, isn't it? Because it highlights a huge misconception we all have about creativity, that the jump from a rough, messy idea to a polished, finished product is some kind of simple magic trick, not a messy, complicated, and often nonsensical process. So, here's the crucial point. How does this so-called drivel actually lead to a masterpiece? In our final section, Creativity's Secret Recipe, we're going to break down exactly how Jyorge turns all that nonsense into real, actual inspiration. So, when you break it all down, his method isn't random at all. It's actually a pretty deliberate 4-step process. First, you consume strange inputs, like his bizarre drink, to give your mind some unconventional fuel. Second, you generate unfiltered drivel. You write the nonsense without fear of judgment. Third, this is what stimulates your creative centers, those abstract whirlpools. And finally, that's where you find the genius. You discover the brilliant ideas that start to emerge from all that chaos. So the key takeaway here is incredibly powerful. That messy, nonsensical, seemingly pointless stage of creation, it is not a waste of time. It is the essential raw material. It's like the soil that the brilliant ideas grow out of. You just can't skip this step.
And that leaves us with one final, kind of provocative thought. Maybe all of us need to give ourselves permission to embrace a little drivel. To play, to experiment, to create nonsense without judging it. Because what if that's exactly what you need to unlock your most brilliant and original ideas?